Welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry and I am the host. You know by now I'm super excited that you are tuned in today for a new episode of this podcast. And if this is your first time, this is a Christian podcast which features people of all ages, and they share a bit of their story about how God has helped them to overcome a difficult challenge, situation, or season in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming with God's help. And they do share authentically. Well, if you have been consistently watching this podcast, then you know that the marriage series is currently over. And today's episode will feature just one person, y'all. And I know it's been a minute, right? But we are back to the one-on-one episodes. That does not mean I won't have couples on in the future, but for now, these episodes will feature just one other person. And y'all, today's episode features a lovely lady, a godly woman that I am honored to know. And she's none other than Sandra Blackwell. And the title of this episode is Godly Parenting as a Single Mom, from Kids to Adults. Get ready to hear this woman of God's journey. She was transparent, she was open and honest in how she shared. And Elder Blackwell, which is what I call her because she is an elder in the church that we both attend, I just again want to thank you so much for saying yes to being on this podcast to encourage other women out there in your shoes. I know that your story is going to bless other single women, single moms, but not just single moms, but moms in general. You dropped some wisdom nuggets. And so I'm ready to hear how this episode is going to encourage so many out there, because I know that it is. And y'all, this lady is funny. So get ready to crack up as well. So without further ado, here it is, episode 38. I want you to enjoy and be blessed. Elder Sandra Blackwell. Did I say Sandra or Sandra?
It's Sandra.
Okay, Sandra. Well, I have you on today, Elder Blackwell. And I guess I'm using your title because that's what I'm used to, right?
Okay.
But I'm so glad that you're on. And thank you for being on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. It was, a little like me. Oh, God, me. But it's my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have you introduce yourself, and then we're just going to hop into the questions, okay? Like I said before, we don't have a title yet, but that's okay. Because once we end this conversation, I'll say, you know what? That's what the title's going to be. So, but I'm going to have you introduce yourself, and then we're going to just hop into the questions. All right?
Okay, good. Well, good morning. It is my privilege and my honor to be here. I thank God that you thought of asking me. When you asked me, I was like, me? My name is Sandra Blackwell, elder in the house of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. I want to say that, I love the Lord and I love God's people. I love my children and I love cruising. I love traveling. I am 68 years old. Okay. I am the mother of 3 very fine, well-developed children. I am the grandmother of 9, 10. My Nehemiah passed away, but I am the grandmother, love being a mom and a grandmother, love that they're grown, love that, everybody is doing well. And I thank God again for you and thank God for being here. I admire you. I thank God for the work that he's doing in you and Pastor Jared.
Thank you.
And I'm just happy to be here. And I hope, my prayer is that anything that I say today will help or inspire somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it will. Sure it will. So to give our audience a gist of what we're talking about today, it's going to be in the realm of raising your children as a single mom, kind of from their younger years and then to their adult years, right?
Yes.
So I want you, Elder Blackwell, to just start out by sharing with us, who were you as a little girl? Where did you grow up? And just talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. I was born and raised right here in Baltimore, Maryland. I am the youngest of 6.
Okay.
And being the youngest, you got to kind of find your way. And believe it or not, I know it might be hard to believe for people who know me, I was shy, introvert, very timid young lady.
Really?
Yes. All my siblings were, when I began, all in their teenage years. All of them were like 2 years apart.
Okay.
But between me and my sister that's close to me, it was 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My older sister kind of took me on her wing, thought she was my mom. She still does. She still refers to me as, every time I call her, she say, "Hi, you my baby sister." And it's like, but I am. But when I want something from her, I say, "Well, I'm going to pull the baby sister card."
Right.
Yes, I was raised in, one time we lived in Somerset Projects and different places
Okay.
in East Baltimore. I went to Baltimore City public schools and had, friends, but I was sort of an introvert, and all through like middle school, it wasn't middle school, then it was junior high. I was known as the bookworm.
Okay.
I was a bookworm because, that was it. That's where I found myself. That's where I found what to do. And, I had girlfriends and things like that, but I never was the whole group of girlfriends. Always, I had girlfriends, had people that I went, but I always found pleasure in just reading books. And then later on in life, my mom told me, God help her, God bless her, she said, when boys started noticing me and I started noticing them, she would say, boys and books don't mix. And I said, okay, Ma, so I read another book,
Yeah.
Trying to be that, always, trying to be that, as they called me in school, Miss Goody Two Shoes.
Yeah.
I was a Miss Goody Two Shoes until I wasn't.
Okay. So you wasn't. Okay. So your mom, by the way, is still living.
Yes, my mom is just celebrated June 27th, her 98th birthday.
Wow.
She's still sharp. She's still active. She lives in South Carolina. I visit her. I talk to her every day, and I visit her as often as I can. But she's still mom.
Wow.
And my dad, he passed away about 10 years ago.
Okay.
But yep.
Wow, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
That's a blessing. So, all right. So, you were a bit of an introvert as a young girl. Now, did your family go to church at all?
Yes. Well, back to my mom. Yes, we were raised in the Baptist church.
Okay.
I remember Mount Hope Baptist,
Okay.
1716 Gwynns Falls Parkway, right across from Mondawmin Mall. Right.
Okay.
And my mom, I credit her with always. She took us to church. She taught me, and I still have it, the reverence, the things of God, the house of God.
Yeah.
I was raised on Sundays. The thing, nothing on Sundays. You better have your stuff on for the week on Saturday, because Sunday, if it was wrinkled, you were wearing it. We didn't. Anything. Sunday was you just didn't. And she still says, on Sundays, you're not going to on anything. I remember one time my son was at her home, and it was a Sunday morning, and he pulled the honor board out, and she yelled at him and said, "Put that away." So, yes, we went, and I learned one thing that you had to do in the Baptist church. You learned the Lord's Prayer.
Okay.
And that was the found of everything. You learned the Lord's Prayer in the 23rd Psalm.
And the 23rd
So I
Psalm,
thank God, and even as I got older, was grown, finished school, I lived in the house with my mom, and I don't care how late you stayed out on Sunday morning, you were going to church, and you better not fall asleep.
Yeah.
So that was
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up Baptist as well. I think we shared this when we went out to eat once, but I grew up Baptist as well. And it was very it was like a regimen to it, right? It's like a program. Like we had actual programs, actually.
Yes,
that told us what was taking place.
every Sunday morning it was the program, the choir, the preaching, welcome the dress, and and you knew it by heart. But that taught you. That was your foundation. It taught you structure.
It did.
Taught, and now, like if I'm in church and if anybody is talking, I'm like, And the thing about, my mother was an usher on the usher board, and I remember the ushers coming, if you're chewing gum, putting their hand, and your mother giving you that eye like, and you better go to the bathroom before the preacher gets up.
Okay.
Because you could not walk during prayer or preaching.
Oh, wow.
And they even had if you come in during prayer time, you had to stand outside and they wouldn't even open the door. Yeah.
Actually, I do remember that now that I
Yes.
think about it. Yeah, we couldn't open the door if we were like late to
Yes.
service and prayer was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, but
wow.
and but in my house, we weren't late, and I'm still that way,
Well, I saw that today. 'Cause I said, Elder Blackwell, it's not until 11. She said, well, it's going to take me about that. I was like, well,
Yeah.
okay.
I always say to be early is to be on time.
Yeah.
To be on time
to
is
be late.
and to be late is not acceptable. Even at work, they'll say, that's just me. And you can ask my children. They're like, Mama is already ready. Let's go get her.
I was like, Elder Blackwell, I got to do my makeup, okay? And then I'll be ready. I was like, dang, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
But it's all good. So at what age, or let's talk about kind of your teenage into your young adult years. Were you still kind of that same introverted person?
Yes, I was. I kind of still was. Like I said, I had friends and I did things, and I kind of wanted to get out of that introverted. I got tired of being called the bookworm, goody two shoes, and like this and that. I went to school at a time when girls couldn't wear pants to school, and then we had a little thing where let's just wear them. And so some of the girls did, but me, I snuck mine out the house, and I had, at the age of, I think 13 was when my parents separated. And, I lived with my mom, and it was a, new neighborhood and new friends and making, friends. It wasn't hard to make friends. But I still was like, I don't want to talk to them. Had my own. Yeah, so I was still in the...
Kind of to yourself.
Kind of to myself.
Okay. So I want to talk about the relationship that you eventually got into, which led to having your first child.
Okay.
So I want you to kind of explain, like, how old were you, and then just what surrounded that.
Yeah, I was young when I had my first child, and I don't regret it. We grew up together. You know her.
I know her a little bit, just a little bit.
You know her. She's my oldest, and when she hears it, she can say, but she really, she thinks she's my mother and my son's mother. But we all listen to her because I'm just so proud of her, proud of all of them.
Yeah.
I was how can I say this? I was still like that introvert, and I had a girlfriend who said to me, all the neighborhood, they were going roller skating and everything, and my mom said, you can go, and I said, and I was excited about going, and then she said to me, my cousin, that's my cousin, he likes you. And he was handsome, and I said, I don't know. I said, no, but my mother said, I thought you were going skating. No, I'm not going,
Yeah.
And my girlfriend kept coming. She said, my cousin, is still, he wants to talk to you. I'm like 13, going on 14.
Okay.
I say, no, that's okay. And then, and this was right in with the time that my parents had separated, and then...
Did that kind of take a toll on you, emotionally, mentally?
Kind of,
Okay.
because, kind of. It was, it was like, wow, all my life, they've been in the
Parents
same
were
house.
together.
They were together. I'm not saying that it was the Waltons or the Leave It to Beavers. I don't know if you know about those shows.
Yeah,
but,
I do.
Okay.
I do.
But they were in the same house, but... At that age, they separated, and I lived with my mom, which was fine, still, still fine, and still going to church, and still going to school, but still reading a book. I would go to the library. I found the library just reading that book, and I have to say, I have to put this in there. And during that time, I went for a little bit. Stayed in South Carolina with my aunt, God rest her soul, and her husband. Both of them have passed away. I call them Mama Wright and Daddy Wright.
Okay.
And he was a pastor.
Okay.
and they had one daughter, Peggy, my cousin. Hey, Peggy, my cousin. And we and I saw. You don't know people till you live with them.
Oh, absolutely.
And I saw, and I stayed there, and I saw what I saw when I saw them at family gatherings. I saw it in their home, a happy knit family,
Okay.
and it was one of those ones where they lived right here, and the church was right there.
Okay.
Okay, and that was one of where I learned a whole lot. The foundation of before you eat, you said a Bible scripture, and I have my children. I make them do that.
Okay.
And so I spent some time there, and then I came back, and my girlfriend was saying, "My cousin still likes you," and I was like, So, after telling this part, so he still liked me, but then he started talking to this other girl who I didn't like.
Okay.
So I said, and this is, I'm telling the truth. So I said, "Oh, I'm taking him."
Okay, because you didn't like her,
Because
right?
I didn't like her.
Right.
And she, and he was still trying to talk to me, and I said, "Yeah, but you're seeing her," and I still tried. In myself, I was saying, "I'm gonna get him."
Right.
But in myself, I was saying, But so anyway, long story short, I broke that up. So him and I started seeing each other, and then at the age of 15, I had my daughter.
Okay.
And that, I was still in high school, and I had, girlfriends in the neighborhood. And one of the things that happened is some of the girls in the neighborhood, parents would not let them talk to me anymore.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to say, your daughter is not, your children are not, they're not
what you think.
They're not angels.
Yeah.
But I understood. No, I didn't understand, but I couldn't. And then, like I said, I was in the Baptist church, and then after I had her and I had to go back to church, I had to stand in front of the church and repent. And
Wow.
And but it was, but it was okay.
Okay.
I didn't quite understand all of that, but it was okay. But I had my mom, she stood by me and helped me, and but I still had to go to school. And my oldest sister, I went to a school. It was called Number One. It was a school for pregnant young ladies.
Really?
I think they still have it here in Baltimore. Yeah.
Wow.
And he was still there. He was 2 years older than me.
Okay.
So he was still there, and I wanted to say that his grandmother and grandfather and his family played a very intricate part in my daughter's life.
That's good.
They were. I remember she saying they've been in my life all my life, And so it was like, but here I was, this 15-year-old, and I always, Danielle, no one said this to me, but I always said, it's my responsibility. Because I was always responsible.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility. And so that relationship, it was on and off, until I was about maybe 17 or 18. Then it was like,
Okay.
But I know one of your questions that was in her life. Yes, he was still in her life.
Okay, good.
Because, and if I could say this, and this came to me, and God told me to say, I say to all women who have children, and they're not, if they're married to them or they've gotten divorced, and unless he's a out-and-out criminal doing something, don't keep your children from them.
Yeah.
You're hurting the children.
That's right.
Just because you're hurt, I never put that on my children. Just because you and him broke up, that's still their blood.
Right.
That's their father.
Yep.
And I would never, I have three, with any of my children, I never say anything negative, derogatory about their father.
Yeah.
There were some things I said when they get older. They'll see. But I never will allow them to disrespect. Even now, I have 2 Gen X's and a millennial. But you will not respect, will not disrespect your father. And so yeah, it was a challenge. Going to school, coming home, changing the diapers. But I was determined, and my mother was determined that I was going to. I did, and I finished school right there. At my high school graduation, there's a picture of me and my daughter. So yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you definitely had your mom there for support. I'm sure your siblings were helping out too when they could.
Well, oh, yeah, okay. My oldest sister, remember I mentioned my oldest
Yes.
sister? Well, she lived across town.
Okay.
And at the time when I had my daughter, there was no babysitter.
Okay.
So, and she wasn't working. She was married, but she wasn't working at the time. So she would keep her, that was her all week.
Okay.
And until she couldn't. She kept her all week. So on for maybe my first year, not the whole first year, but 6 months of going back to school, I was a weekend mom. And every Sunday night when I dropped her off, tears would come to my eyes. And I look forward to Friday going back and picking her up.
Yeah.
And then there was a lady next door, Miss Dean. I'll never forget her. She watched children.
Okay.
And so all I had to do in the mornings was reach her across the foot to her. And so she was there when I came home. Had to put her, down to sleep and do homework. But it was a time when we grew up together, as I've said. We did.
Wow. Okay. So what about... So one of my questions were you already saved? And clearly you were, because you grew up in church, right?
I wasn't saved. I just went to church.
Oh,
it's a
there
difference.
You go. There is a difference. Okay. So at what point did you actually get saved?
Okay. I got saved in between, and I guess later on, age of 21.
Okay.
I didn't meet that well. At the age of 20, I met someone else.
Okay.
And I married him.
Okay.
And I had my oldest son.
Your oldest son, okay.
I'll say, but still going to church. I'd say, no, because by this time I'd come out my introvertness and I would go to clubs and things like that.
Okay.
But anyway, still a little introvert, but not that much. So, and then after we divorced, in between, after we divorced, I said, God. I've always known there was a God. And I would always pray, but I wasn't saved. I would pray, God, get me out of this. Oh, God, don't let my mother find out what I did. Stuff like that. But it was something, I won't say something. The Holy Spirit was nudging at me. I was meeting people that were talking about being saved. I was on a job. I was working my first job out of high school. And there were these young ladies there that were going to a holiness church, makeup and whatever, right? But they always wanted to go to lunch with me. I said, I don't know what they want. That's bothering me. Yes, and one of them, she got married, and I was even in her wedding.
Okay.
And she fought for me to be in her wedding because her family said, that young lady is not saved.
Oh, wow.
And she said, but she's a friend of mine, And so I was in her wedding.
Okay.
I couldn't be, she wanted me to stand closer to her at the altar, but I had to stand like back, that.
Wow.
But I was in the wedding, so.
Okay.
But I still wasn't saved, but I went to lunch with them every day.
Yeah.
And so later on, like I said, I wasn't working a job anymore, and I got married and everything. And then I kept saying, let me see what they were talking about. And I left the Baptist church, and I went to a holiness church.
Okay.
And my mom was like, "Oh, you that was a pull.
Was a big deal.
That was a pull. That was a pull to do that. But I stood my ground on that. And then today, my mom, she has no problem calling me for prayer or anything like that. But that's when, married, divorced, 2 children, and I got, I turned my life over to the Lord. I was saved, but I wasn't fully committed.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah, I wasn't fully committed. I was battling, fighting to be, because people around me were again making fun of me. You know, young ladies my age, they lived in the neighborhood. One of them said to the other one, was an older woman. She said, "Oh, she young. She'll grow out of that religious stuff." You know. And then I said, "I'm young. I'll grow out that religious stuff," and that made me want it more, right? And but then I got to, and then one girl said, "Well, you all by yourself. You know, you're a nice looking lady. Just raising, you know." I said, "Well, I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be all right."
Yeah.
And so. But you know, and I'm still thinking, here I am. I'm young. I'm only in my 20s.
Right.
I have 2 children, single, and excuse me for saying it, wasn't bad looking, had nice shape.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
You know, but I still on Sunday mornings we were going to, and I was praising God and everything, and even to the point that I think. One guy at church told me, he said, "The way you carry yourself, I thought you were married and your husband just didn't come to church."
Oh, wow. Interesting.
I was wondering why nobody wouldn't say nothing to me, but and I said, "No." And so then, and then still 2 children, and then and we lived in O'Donnell Heights, public housing.
Okay.
And it was, I thank God. And we were making it, and then I said, enough of this.
You were ready to be in a relationship again.
Yes, right? Enough of this, and I was, and then my baby boy came along, and it's some, let me see, there when I had my second son, my daughter was 6, so it was a long, you know. Yeah. And then when I had my first son, my daughter was 6, so there was 6 years between them. And I said, this is it. But then my little Twan, his name's Antoine, you know. I call him Twan Cake. Okay. You know. He came along, and I said, wow, and my daughter was 13 at that time. And so, but after that was, I found my way back to God. Okay. And that was it. They were raised in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Even though in church, it was one of the mothers of a church. And now sometimes at church, Pastor Lawrence calls me mother, so I've accepted that, but...
You've accepted it?
I've accepted it, but it's a difference. Some of the things that were said to me after... I had a girlfriend that was in holiness, right? And when I became pregnant with after the third, she stuck by me. Matter of fact, she took me to the hospital when I had him. Okay. But it was one of the mothers of the church who said to me, you know, that's where all the afflicted, mentally ill children come from.
Oh, wow.
Having them out of wedlock.
Wow.
And I went home and I cried.
Yeah.
And God gave me the scripture where it says when they said, who sinned that this boy was born like this? And God said, not his mother, not his father, it's so that the glory of God could be revealed. Yeah. And I began to really look in the Word and search out, you know, and that made me really, 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 Danielle, start praying for my children and fasting and praying and committed that my children, regardless of what anybody says, regardless of, I don't want stigma put on them. Right. And if you have children and you're saying, there's no stigma. Yeah. You know, there are no mistakes. None of my children were a mistake. You know, they are blessings, each and every one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yeah.
Wow. That's a harmful statement. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Wow. It was.
Wow. So, at what point, if there was ever a point, was raising your children very difficult? Having all 3 of them, was there a season where it got really hard for you?
I won't say yes. It was trying to, and not so much the raising of them, trying to be mother and father, but I'm the mother. And I can't be mother and father. Now, there are fathers, because I always say, was in their life, but not every day, not through everything. And there was...
But their fathers were in their lives. That's awesome.
That was... Because I did not believe... They, like I said, I did not believe in, oh, you hurt me, so now you can't come around.
Right,
I think that's, or you did this, and you ain't no good, you this, that, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because when you say they are no good and they are nothing, that means one time you were no good and you were nothing. But
there you go.
it was something. Now, I'm not saying that there are some fathers who may have gone and done something and that you have to keep the child from them. I think I've said that.
Right.
But I didn't have that situation.
Yeah.
But one time, I remember my youngest son's father said to me, because he had other children, he said, of all my children, I worry about him the less because I know you're going to do right.
Praise God.
And I said, thank you. Just drop off the child support. That's all. So, but it became that I had to realize that as a woman, this is what I could do. Both of my sons were on baseball teams. So I couldn't coach them. I couldn't catch a ball with them, but I went to every game. I remember my youngest son was the pitcher, and he was having trouble with, So I said, God, I don't know what to say to him. So God gave me, because I tried to put God in everything. I really did. I said, you see that mitt, because you got to try to pitch it into the mitt so to be a strike. I said, just think of everything you want, like your new bike, your da-da-da-da, and that the devil is keeping it from you. But every time you throw the ball into that mitt, you knock the devil out your way.
Okay.
That day, he pitched a no-hitter.
Oh, wow.
And so, that I said, okay. And then my other son, my oldest son was on a baseball team, and I didn't drive then, didn't have, and we had to get to the field where it was, we had to catch the bus, we carried our chairs, we walked down this hill, but we did it.
Yeah.
So I never tried to be the father because I am the mother.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, and I know, sad to say in our society, there's a lot of, what's that saying? I don't know how that saying goes, but basically when the moms try to be the mom and the dad, it's not going to work.
No.
It's not
you
going
can
to work.
be the mom, and I do remember, because for a time I did not work. I was on food stamps and all that. But even during that time, I know one of the things you said, well, what do we do for fun? And during that time, it was like I would save and doing bus trips to Hershey Park.
Okay.
And every year we went to the circus.
Okay.
We may have been sitting in the nosebleed section.
But every year
we went, and they got a program. They shared the program. And it was a thing at the circus where it was a light.
Okay.
And each one of them got a light. I couldn't afford to buy them any snacks to eat there. So at that time, I would pack their snacks.
Yeah.
And every year we went to the circus. And like I said, we were way up. But then one year I was listening to the radio, and I won 4 tickets.
Okay.
And we were down so close. They thought
the best thing
ever. So yeah, we had a good time. We used to sit down and play games like Parcheesi and things like that. And but all I could be was what I am.
Yeah.
A woman of God, raising children in the fear and admonition. That's it.
That's right. I love that. Now, I remember a funny story that you shared with me about the Hulk. One of your sons.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Please share that story.
Okay. This was when I just had 2, right? And I had this thing where there were certain shows they couldn't watch. But my daughter was downstairs. She was doing something in the kitchen. And I always put the cookies and stuff way up top. Because my youngest son, not my youngest son, he was at that time, he was the middle child.
Okay.
Middle child. He loved cookies and stuff, but he couldn't reach it. Even with a chair, he couldn't reach it. So he went in the kitchen and he told my daughter, give me them cookies. And she said, no, Mommy said you couldn't have them.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, I heard, "Rrr," and chairs were being thrown around. And he said, I'm the Hulk, you better give me them cookies. So I ran downstairs, what's going on? She said, Ma, he thought, I said, no. He said, "Rrr." I wanted to laugh. I wanted to laugh so bad, but I couldn't. I said, okay, you're not getting any cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Go in your room. I said, and you cannot watch the Hawk in this house anymore.
Yeah.
And that was a thing with them. Certain shows they couldn't watch.
They couldn't watch.
Yeah.
So, and that was your way of protecting them from what you sensed they shouldn't be watching, right?
Yeah. And speaking of shows you shouldn't be watching, at the time when I wasn't working, I watched soap operas. I was Another World, Bold and Beautiful, you name it. And then God said, he said, Another World? You are from another world, so you don't have to watch Another World.
Oh, wow.
He said, Bold and Beautiful? I restore your youth as the eagle, so you are beautiful. And the wicked flee when none pursue, so you are bold. So you don't have to watch this, and I don't have them in your house anymore. And I had told my children things they couldn't watch, so God told me something I couldn't watch.
You couldn't watch.
So I stopped watching it. Yeah. So I remember this, and again, it's my oldest son. So Friday night, I'm sitting down, my two favorite things, Pepsi and popcorn.
Is that still the case today?
Yeah, Pepsi and popcorn. Anyway, not too much Pepsi. I'm more ginger ale now.
Okay.
So Pepsi and popcorn, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm ready. I turned the TV on. And mind you, during this time, we only had one TV in the house, but anyway. So I turned the TV on. I'm getting ready to watch. It was on Friday nights, Falcon Crest and Dallas.
Okay.
So my oldest son comes bopping in there. Ma, yes. Didn't you say, certain shows we couldn't watch and you wasn't no more soap operas, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, isn't Falcon Crest and Dallas nighttime soap operas?
Ooh.
I wanted to knock him.
You wanted to throw that popcorn at him.
I wanted to knock him 2 weeks in the next year. And you know what? I clicked the TV. Well, I couldn't click it. I got it, turned it off. I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. Because I never wanted to be and still don't want to be someone who says, do what I say.
Not as I do.
Not as I do. And if I can't live it, and I still say, if I give it, I've got to live it. If I teach it or preach it, that means I have reached it or I'm reaching for it. And I went upstairs and I said, and it's nothing like your children giving back to you what you've put in them.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I know that was hard, though, because those were your favorite shows.
Yeah, I said, during the day, I can't watch nothing now like on Friday nights. The only thing I had to do on Friday nights, I was raising children. I wasn't going out running the streets on Friday nights. Why can't I watch this?
Right. Wow, but that's good. Yeah, I know, like you said, when your kids are able to regurgitate what you've poured into them, it's like, well, this is what I taught them. So,
yes.
Yeah, that's good. So, I want you to talk about your prayers for your children, being a single mom, maybe seeing them do stuff that they had no business doing. What were your prayers like for them at the time? I would, in praying, when my children would sleep at night, I would get up and I would anoint them with oil. And I would just pray, God, please help my children never to turn from you. Because he said, train them up in the way they should go. And I said, help me to train my children. Every morning before they went to school, we had a circle, and I prayed for God to, and I still pray this for them. God, as they go out, protect them and keep them as they go. Keep them safe while they're there. And we got to pray that really now with all this stuff. Keep me safe while I'm there and bring them back safe. I ask God to help them to develop into
the children, the adults that he would want them to be. Not so much as what I see, but what he saw.
Yeah.
You know, Lord, keep them, save them, fill them with the Holy Ghost. And as they got older, in the teenage years, talking to my daughter was okay, because but the sons,
yeah.
that one was, but God always made a way that, you know, I knew what to say and how to say it. And I prayed that they wouldn't get out there and get into things. And I mean, I prayed fervently because in Proverbs 11 it says, the seed of the righteous shall be delivered.
Yeah.
So I prayed that over them, that they would see, because I am the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus, and these are my seed.
Yep.
And they shall be delivered. And I pray, and I still pray that I pray for my children every day, every morning. God, take them where they have to go. Don't let Antoine drive too reckless. Don't let them text and drive. Take Tanya to where she has to go. She's a principal of a school. For my Damien, oh my God, he's just retired, 28 years in the service.
Wow.
And I lived through him being in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I pray, and God spoke to me the day he went in the service. God said, I'll always bring him back to you. So I still pray that. When he say, Mom, going to visit Africa, I said, God, you said you would always bring them back to me. So I still pray. I pray fervently for them and my grandchildren. It's still, it never ends. They're grown. They think they're my parents. But but they know. And, you know, and I thank God. One thing I can say, they respect me and what I stand for.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. As you were talking, I was thinking about that single mom who may be having just a hard time raising her children. You were a single mom of 3, right? And now that you just said how your daughter is a principal, you know, your oldest son was in the military, and like I don't know about your youngest son, you know, but your children have gone on to have great lives.
Yes, my youngest son, he lives in North Carolina with his wife. He's been in sales. I often say he can sell reading glasses to Stevie Wonder.
I love it.
He can. And he was in sales. For now, he's in sales with a car dealership now. And but he does the some part in that, you know. But he's doing well.
Yeah.
And when you look at sometimes, if talking to mothers out there, you look at sometimes of where they are now, and you pray, and sometimes you may not be able to, this one's going to be, this one's going to, just keep giving it and living it. Don't, not, I may have been dogmatic sometimes, but as they got older, I realized I had to pull back and try to balance things out.
Yeah.
Things that I took, I may have taken away certain TV shows, but there was at this time, like, you could go to the store and rent a video, and we could watch those together. They're all doing well. They all, something that I never did, they all own homes.
Okay.
So I can go live. No, but they all own homes, which, you know, they welcome me into. They all have good jobs. They all, they stand by me. Recently, and you know this, back in October, I was really ill. I was out. I was down. And to get the calls I got, the FaceTiming, mommy, and my daughter, you know, working every day. She made sure I ate and you know, and made sure she put food by. And then when they found out it was a procedure they had to do, and you know, like I said, I got the son in North Carolina. His wife works from home, and she offered. She said, you know, I can come up there and be with you all day. And I said, no, that's okay, because when I'm not feeling well, sometimes I like to be alone, talk to God. And so, but I appreciate that. If I needed her, she would have came. And my son in Virginia. He lives in Virginia when I was in the military. And I had to get a procedure done. And my daughter couldn't get off. And he came. He drove to take me. And then I had to have it done 3 times. And the second time, my daughter, she took off. She took me. And the third time, they said that I didn't need anybody to come. And I said, I'm a big girl now. I'm going to go by myself. But my phone rung the whole time. You know, it's like, but they respect me.
Yeah.
When I get in my son's cars, they changed the station. They changed the station. And the thing about it, they respect me, and because I respect them. They're grown. Sometimes I still want to say, you better not. But so just, I can say to a single mom, be who God made you to be. Even when they're grown, if you see them stepping wrong, because even when they were small, and I was kind of see them going down the wrong path, I would still pray and ask God to help me how to say this to them.
Yeah.
You know, I may sometimes not have prayed and just say, I will knock you to waste. You know, I may have done that, but now it's like, you can't tell them what to do. You still, but if you ask them, they're going to tell you, I still do. You know.
Okay.
I need to every day in some way speak to them.
Yeah.
And I do. It's like now with my son that's in North Carolina, sometimes I can't get him on the phone. I'll call his wife, how you doing? I really, and I love her, but I would say, how you doing? She said, I'm fine. I said, how's Lily? That's their daughter. She said, she's fine. I said, where's Twan? And she'd say, Ma, you know, here he is, you know, one of those things. Or if I think something's going on, I'll say, Ruth, is he okay? She'd say, yeah. And so, you know, and just this past Father's Day, I spent Father's Day with my oldest son. I said, I'm going to go with them. And I just came off a cruise with my daughter. So it's, when they grow up, if you plant the right seed in them, they will, you know. And I thank God for them because I have girlfriends my age. And one of the saddest things is I don't hear from my children. And I'm like, wow, I can't imagine not hearing from them. I can't. I can't imagine like when holidays come, they all have their separate lives, but they make sure that I'm not alone in some way. And whatever. And then the trips that I've taken, I've been to Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, my son, when he was in the military, I've been to Hawaii. I've took trips, you know, to Myrtle Beach, Virginia Beach, and I've been on cruises, all at their expense.
Wow, that's a blessing.
Yeah, and then sometimes I have to say, I got this. Ice cream cone, that's about it. But I got this.
Right.
And I don't mind. And I don't mind, like, you know, I don't mind, like, if I'm going to visit one of them in Virginia or North Carolina, I don't mind paying my own airfare or something like that. And they'll say, Ma, you got it? Yeah, I got it. Yeah. And they find a way to give it back. But so that's it. They grow up.
Yeah. So going back to what you were saying about having to pull back, you know, once they got older, how difficult was that? Because I hear some single moms that may have children who are now like, you know, maybe in their early 20s, and it's hard because they see them making all kinds of mistakes and their children aren't listening to them anymore. So how was that for you?
Okay, right. Oh my goodness, very. You know, I kept saying when they were coming up, saying, as each one of you grow up and leave, I'm gonna get a smaller place, you know. But when you see them, what you do is you plant the word of God in them, and you pray, because it says when they get old, they will not depart, and you pray that they keep that. But when you see them doing things, and I won't tell anything that they did, but when you see it, you're like, what do I do.
Yeah.
But you remember that God said the seed of the righteous will be delivered. You remember that he's able to keep. You have to hand them over to God and ask God. I remember asking God one time, I said, God, you have got to calm my heart.
That's good. That's
You've
a good
got
prayer.
to keep my heart. You've got to keep me emotionally sound, right? Lord, I'm letting go. But the prayers that I've prayed, I'm still praying. But I have to keep an open mind that when they do this or that or whatever, I'm still here. I'm still, no matter what you do, and I tell people this, no matter what you do, you never have to lie to me about it. You never have to be ashamed to come to me. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you what I think about it. But in the end, I'm going to hug you, and we're going to pray about it. And you better not do it again.
Yes.
You know, but I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to abandon you, because it's like, I've done things, but God didn't abandon me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And he blessed me with 3, oh my goodness, you say people with children in their 20s. Well, mine's are past the 20s.
Yeah, they're past, yeah.
They're way past it. Way. My youngest will be 40 this year.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Wow.
You know, yeah. Like, and my oldest son is in his 40s, and my daughter, she's up there. She
Not gonna reveal her age.
Not gonna reveal her age, but you know, but she, yeah, and like I said, but if the truth be told, she runs all of us.
She runs everybody.
But she is, but it is a privilege and an honor to, now that they're grown, like I said, when I was sick and my son came, and he sat on my couch, and I laid my head on his shoulder and I cried, because I was really, and he said, Mama, you have served the Lord as long as I can remember. And if God heals anybody, he's going to heal you. And he began to quote scriptures to me, and I looked at him like, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
when I'm getting ready to do something or go somewhere, you know, different one of my children will pray for me or pray with me. And that is, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's, you know, but they're, you know, they're grown.
Yeah.
And I always say I want them to live their lives. Everything does not have to surround mama. You know, you want to go here and you do that, you do that. You want to go here and do that, you do that. I'm praying for you while you're there.
Right.
And I mess with my oldest son when I say, well, where you going? And he don't answer me. So
okay.
he laughs, and he'll say something like, "I'm getting ready to take a trip. He just for Africa, right? Africa, what you going over there for? You don't know nobody over there. Oh, who them people you going with?" He said, I said, I need your itinerary. And what he told me, say, I will give LaTanya, that's my daughter, I give her my itinerary, I'll give it to her. And I say, well, you better get internet service the whole time you're over there, you know, stuff like that. And my youngest son, he has a way of saying, like, this last week when I was on the cruise, he didn't know I was on the cruise, and he called my house, and my daughter had internet connection on her phone, and she said, I think your son looking for you because he just called me, and he ain't calling me on no Friday night. And so she said, but she couldn't make a call. She said, but when we go on the island tomorrow, I'm going to call. So by the time we got there and she called him, he had already called my other son. He said, Mama, you on the cruise? You out there being grown? And I had to remind them, I was grown when you were born.
I love it.
I was grown when you were born.
Right.
But they still have that input.
Yeah.
If they call my house and I don't answer, then the cell phone will go off. And then, you know, like one day my daughter said, I was on my way around there. She doesn't far from me. I said, why? Because I called your house and you didn't answer. And because I always answer on the second or third ring. And then I just called your cell phone and you didn't answer. I say, well, you know, sometimes mothers do go to the bathroom.
Not in the bathroom.
But I had... you can cut that out. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's hilarious.
Sometimes, and even, you know, but they are grown.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing to them.
Right.
This morning,
Mm-hmm.
this was funny.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter sent me something. It was something she saw on the internet. It was a young lady sitting, and she said, I'm looking at my cell phone, and I have 2 missed calls from my mother. I believe this helicopter she done called the police, and they looking for me. And that's, and I always say, like, I always say to her, I know you're grown. You're grown. You have 2 degrees. You're working on your 3rd one.
Okay.
You make 3 times as much as I do. I say, but when you on the way home, where you going? When you're on the way home, I need you to call me. I need you to text me. Not when you're parking your car. When you're in the house, text me. And I mean that. I say, and sometimes she'll text me, and I'm asleep because I'm asleep, and I wake up and say, "Oh my God, is she home?"
Yeah.
And I look at the thing where she texts me at 9:00. I say, "Okay," but if I wake up and say, "Is she home?"
Yeah.
And there's no text, and I don't want to call her in the middle of the night.
Right.
So I'm sitting there, I'm praying, and then the sun come up. No. You didn't text me.
I love it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your relationships with your children, even as adults, you all are very close-knit. That's what it sounds like. So what do you think I know I have a feeling what you're going to say, but how have you been able to remain a close-knit family?
Now I'm going to say this. It's not that we don't have sometimes.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
And it's not that sometimes they don't. But when they were coming up, it was the 3 of us against the world. I want to say, no, the 3 of them and me and God against the world.
Yeah.
And we always had dinner together. And I always told them, no matter what, look out for each other. Look out for each other.
Yeah.
In the house, they would have Scrabbles and if my son said, well, anyway, I'm their mama. Okay. Like in the house, my 2 sons shared a room. I don't know if you remember the TV show The Odd Couple, but one was real. That's how it was. They, oh my God, my oldest son is and still is. My youngest son wasn't the neatest person, but his wife has trained him. He is so, anyway. But y'all stop. And then my daughter moved out. They helped her move, and that very night, my oldest son took my youngest son's stuff and put it. You in this room now, But I've always taught them, look out for each other, put God first, and we have sometimes. We used to do it more often. I don't know what happened. We need to get back into it. With I think it was like the 3rd Sunday in each month. I don't care what you were doing. You got on the family prayer. This was, I think
that's good.
This happened during the pandemic, and we kind of got away from it. But if they hear this, it's coming back.
It's coming back.
Yeah. So that's how. And I do love the way that sometimes when something happens, like. Back in 2020, just before the pandemic, my daughter's grandmother passed away.
Okay.
And, my sons knew her, and they used to go to her house and stuff, even though different.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And my son, I think he was stationed in Hawaii, so he couldn't. Matter of fact, we had just came back from Hawaii, so he couldn't. But my youngest son, who was not stationed, but he lives in North Carolina. He said, when is it? And during the whole funeral, he was sitting I was sitting with my daughter, right? And he was sitting on the other side, maybe 2 rows behind. But during the whole funeral, he watched her. He just watched her. He I don't know if he heard anything anybody said. He watched her.
Wow.
And as we left out, he made sure he was right behind her to hold her in that, And my oldest son, if something happens, And now that, no matter where he was in the world, he would be upset. When I'm all the way over here, I said, it's okay, but you're calling. But now that he's 3 hours away, I said, you're only 3 hours away. But he'll be there. They're there for each other.
Yeah.
And they're there for me. I don't care what the disagreement is.
Yeah.
When something happened, when my, and I mentioned at the top that my grandson Nehemiah, Nehemiah was born in the morning prematurely, and he passed away that night. And I think my son, I don't know where he was. He was in Germany. Was he in Germany? Yeah, he was in Germany. But my daughter and I, the first plane, and that was...
This was your youngest son?
Yeah.
Okay.
Him and his wife. And I said, oh, and I cried, and I cried. And my oldest son was on the phone saying, Mom, I said, I got to pull myself together because God told me, he said, you're going to have to be strong for Antoine and Ruth, right? And little did I know, because I'm an elder, and God said, get ready. You're going to have to be the one to commit him to the crown. I said, I ain't doing it. I said, Then I said, God, okay. So when we got there, my daughter and I went past the funeral home to drop some stuff off. And the lady in the funeral home said, you're his mother? I said, yeah. She said, we asked him who did he want to do it. Then we had to, and he said, no, my mother. I said, he did. And so I remember, the dust, ash to ashes. And then I said, whew. And then at the end I said, let's all say the Lord's Prayer. But at that time it hit me. And like my daughter was sitting there, and my son that was stationed in Germany, she had him on faith because they all wanted to be there.
Yeah.
That's something they all. And I do remember that was, and I said, let's say the Lord's Prayer. And honestly, Daniel, I opened my mouth, and all I said was, Our Father, because at that point it hit me. And the funeral director took over leading in the Lord's Prayer. But what made me so proud that they were all there together in some way. They still will look out for each other. I don't care. They do have spats. Some they don't tell me about. Some I pick up in the spirit, and I pray, because I can't say, come here, get this together anymore. But what I planted in them as little children. The other thing is both my sisters had mates and their children, and it was kind of difficult and hard when they went around them, but we were always close. I had somebody ask me one time, how come you get the good children?
Wow.
And I said, huh? I know, and the only thing I could say is it was God.
Yeah, that's right.
And the only thing with bringing them up was sometimes trying to keep from them some of the stuff I was going through, some of the struggles with the finances and everything like that. I didn't want, they were children, they were my responsibility. You don't put that on children.
Right.
You with the help of God, you do what you have to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Did your children know that you all were struggling financially when you were in that place? Did they know at all?
They were just, let me tell you. They knew that, this was before I started working, that everything that other children had, they didn't get, right? But at Christmas, they had toys and things. When in school, in school when they would have celebrations at school, they have little parties and stuff. I always told I was on food stamps at this time. I always told my children, when they ask who's gonna bring something, raise your hand to bring something that you can eat, so I can go to the store with. I don't want to spend my money on getting the napkins, the cups, and things. Right. And they always did, and they participated at that.
Gotcha.
And at their age, and we were living in O'Donnell Heights, right? So I just had the two. We had what was called the bread truck. It was a truck that came around, and they took food stamps, and you could put on there what you want him to deliver to you, like bread, milk. He had all kinds of, it was like a little store. And so my children when they want to buy sweets and things, their allowance was the food stamps to go to the food truck, and they were just as happy.
Yeah,
They never, they had birthday parties and things like that, but there were, you know, they didn't get, we caught the bus, we had to, they didn't get designer things, but we were net. And now, when I look at, like I told you, all of them are well-rounded, good jobs, own homes, and we all, even me, drive. I didn't.
You say even me?
They all drove before me. Matter of fact, my daughter took me on the parking lot.
She helped you.
She helped me and say, "You going to driving school, right?" Because I was like, you know, it was kind of awkward for her saying, "My turn," you know. But she did. She helped me, and when I did, and they still, you know, they won't let me drive them nowhere, you know. But I think so. It's you know, if I could say this, you know, and sometimes now, you know, I live alone now. Sometimes I miss when they were little. Not often, but sometimes I miss.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Why?
It was just some of the stupid stuff they did, some of the fun stuff they did. Some of my youngest son, one time, he was like, I think he was 3 or 4. Yeah. I was upstairs, and my daughter was upstairs. I thought she was downstairs with him. So I came downstairs, and I said, "Tanya, see that one?" She said, "No." We tore the house up. And at that time, a knock came at the door. And what did they say? Miss Sandra said, I said, "Where you was?" He was so greedy. I had fruit on the table, and he knew he wasn't supposed to eat that yet because we was getting ready to have dinner.
Okay.
He took a banana off the table, peeled it, and was walking down the street eating a banana so I couldn't catch him.
He was only 3.
Yeah, and I said, "Thank God." Oh boy, I didn't know whether I said just go upstairs. Say some of the silly things like in the time that my oldest son got the clippers and cut the youngest son's hair and had spots all over it.
Patches all on his head.
And I said, "If you let him do it, you stupid enough to let him do it, that's how you're gonna look." And my youngest son went to my daughter and said, "Can you talk to Mommy to take me to the barbershop?" And she came and said, "Ma, come on now," you know. So I'm saying that's their oldest sister.
Right.
But they figured, Mama won't listen, so she's gonna, you know, it's stuff like that. And sometimes, like, they will still call her and say, "Is Mama all right?" And she said, "Don't you know her phone?" You know. So I miss some of the little antics that they got into.
Yeah.
But you know. But, yeah.
I love it. If there's something that you could tell your younger self, what would it be? As a single mom.
As a single mom, I would tell my younger self, don't stress. Just relax. Seeing what I see now, it's going to be all right. All the negative things that were said to you and about you, from family, friends, it's going to be all right, you know. Just be still. Hold on. God's got you. I would.
That's good. Well, we have come to the end, Elder Blackwell. I want you to share anything else, any other advice, any wisdom, any encouragement, anything that's on your heart to share with any single moms or moms in general. What would you want to say to them?
To moms in general, I can say, even if not just a single mom, any mom, just be who you are. Be who God has made you. I can remember, because I was very strict. I guess I had to be. As a single mom, I felt that. And I remember one of my friends who was saved and her husband wasn't, and she said, you have to make all the decisions. She said, you don't know how blessed you are. Because it's a fight, you know. But even in that, she said she would pray that God would help her and help her husband. So I'm saying to you, whether you're a single mom or, you know, and if the father is saying something different, just trust God. If you're not in a place where you're totally committed to God, still trust Him. I remember when I was going through, you know, and God, I didn't, you know, all of them, they had home. I was working, come home and check homework. I had to go to PTA, because that was when you went to the school, and all this stuff. And then one time they had a science project. And I said, God, this is a job for two. And He spoke to me in a still, quiet voice. And that was one of the things that when I was praying about what to say here, that He said to remind the single moms. When I said, God, this is a job for two. And He said, yes, my child, for me and for you. And I've shared that God is in it with you. Sometimes it may not seem like it. Sometimes it may not feel like it. But He is right there. And never, ever, ever let anybody make you feel bad about your position or your situation. Don't let anyone do that. Just strive to be the best that you can be. And when they are gone and they are grown, they will respect you for that. Just stay the course. Don't give up. Remember, God's got you, and the seed of the righteous shall be delivered.
That's good. That is good. Well, thank you so much again, Elder Blackwell, for just being on and sharing some of your story. And I know that it's going to bless other moms and single moms and anybody. I think anyone can take from this just what you shared today. So
thank the Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was good to be here. I found my way. You
can breathe now, right? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I want you to make sure that you share it with others, that they may be blessed and encouraged. I want you to like the episode, and I want you to leave a comment letting us know something that stood out from this episode today. If you haven't yet, also subscribe to the channel, Breakthrough Conversations. Until next time, everyone, be blessed and have a wonderful day.